Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us for another class on Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 45. Lord Krishna rescues his teacher's son. So please join us for little Kirtan and then we'll study the chapter followed by Nasimha Devati. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Krishna, Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiryet
Tato Jayamudirye
Shratam Swakatha Krishna
Shravatam Sa Katha Kṛṣṇa
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Hridayantasto Bhadrani
Hridayantastoy Bhadrani
Vidunoti Suhasatam
Vidunoti Sahritsatam
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttam Shloke
Bhagavate Ruttam Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki.
Hare Krishna. So today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, chapter 45. So this appears to be the first chapter in the third book of Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto that we have. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, chapter 45, verse 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha
Shri Shukovacha
Pitaravupalabdhartho
Pitravupalabdhartho
Vivitva Purushottamaha
Viditva Purushottama
Ma Bhuditi Nijamayam
Ma Bhuditi Nijamayam
Tatana Janamohinim.
Tatan Janma Mohini.
Please.
Shri Shukovacha
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Pitarav Upalabdharao
Pitaravupalabdhartho
Viditva Purushottama
Viditva Purushottamaha
Ma Bhuditi Nijamayam
Ma Bhuditi Nijamayam
Tatan Janmohinim.
Tatan Jannamohinim. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukovacha
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Shri Shukdev Goswami said
Pitra,
Pitaro
his parents, Uplabdha,
Uplabdha
having realized, Artha,
Artha,
the idea of his opulent position as God,
the idea of his opulent position as God,
Viditva,
Viditva, knowing,
Purusha Uttamaha,
Purusha Uttama,
the Supreme Personality,
the Supreme Personality,
Ma Bhutiti,
Ma Bhutiti.
this should not be,
This should not be.
Nijam,
Nijam,
his personal,
Mayam,
illusory potency,
illusory potency,
Tatan,
Tatan,
he expanded, Jana, his devotees, Mohini, which bewilders. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, understanding that his parents were becoming aware of his transcendental opulences, the Supreme Personality of Godhead thought that this should not be allowed to happen. Thus he expanded his Yogamaya, which bewilders his devotees. Purport: if Vasudeva and Devaki would have seen Krishna as Almighty God, their intense love for him as their son would have been spoiled. Lord Krishna did not want this. Rather, the Lord wanted to enjoy with them the ecstatic love of the Vatsalya Ras, the relationship between parents and children. As Srila Prabhupada often pointed out, although we normally think of God as the Supreme Father, in Krishna consciousness we can enter into the Lord's pastimes and play the part of His parents, thus intensifying our love for Him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the word jana may be translated here as devotees, as in the verse Dhyatmanam na grahnati vinamata sevanam janaha, Bhagavatam 3:29-13. He further explains that jana may also be translated as parents, since jana is derived from the verb jan, which is the causative form janyate, means to generate or to give birth to. In this sense of the word, as in Janani or Janakao, the term Janamohini indicates that the Lord was about to expand His internal illusory potency, so that Vasudeva and Devaki would again love Him as their dear child. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So as we covered in the previous chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, chapter 44, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking the pastime where Lord Krishna kills Kṛṣṇa and also his wrestlers. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, when he is describing this pastime, he is summarizing, yet at the same time, he is revealing such amazing pastimes to Parikshit Maharaj, because he has to cover everything in the 7 days, 7 nights period. And other scriptures, those pastimes have been elaborated further. So when we go to Padma Puran, when we go to Garg Samhita and so many other scriptures, we found further expansion, like these pastimes have been expanded and have been elaborated as how this killing of the wrestlers, Charur, Mushrika, Kuta, Shal and Toshal, that happened, and how Lord Krishna killed Kṛṣṇa. And it was the last moment when Lord Krishna killed Kṛṣṇa, as we said, that he did not really get any glories. So we also covered how Kṛṣṇa was so powerful that he defeated, the 5 brothers who were born as the son of the king of Mahishmatipuri. And so they became his wrestlers, his slaves. And so when this pastime is going on, we also heard how the ladies in the assembly, in the spectators, in the arena, they were talking as how this is highly, big injustice, highly unjustified act is in progress, where young boys, they are fighting. So again, in some scriptures it is said that Lord Krishna was 11-year-old, and Lord Balaram, Lord Krishna, they were 11-year-old. Some places it's given 9. But still, the important aspect is that they were young boys. They were at the prime of their youth, yet at the same time, and when they say prime of their youth, so that age of youth is from normally after 10 years up to 15 years of age. Yet if they were 11 years, how could they be the prime of their youth? So that is also being explained elaborately in the scriptures, that while somebody gets to the toddler age, and again as a toddler, as a baby, the Kumar age is still 5 years, but Lord Krishna achieved it in 3.5 years. When Pandraka age is still 10 years, Lord Krishna achieved it in 6 years, 8 months. So by the time he was, 10 and 11, he had already reached his prime youth stage. And we also heard as how Lord, He is so merciful to His devotees that He preserves what they have and He delivers what they lack. So when Lord Kṛṣṇa touches even the demons, so these demons were not, the not so important demons of today's age. These demons were actually great devotees of the Lord. So they were either they had committed some offense, so they were cursed, and so they had taken birth, or sometimes they even wished to act in such way. Just like Ratnamala, who was the younger sister of Bali Maharaj, Daityaraj Bali Maharaj. When Daityaraj Bali Maharaj was in shackles, after Vaman Dev in Trivikrama form asked him, where should I put my third step? So at that time, the demigods had come and they had put Bali Maharaj in shackles. And while Ratnamala, what was her first wish when she saw Vaman Dev coming to the sacrificial arena? He was looking so beautiful that she immediately desired that, I would like to have him as my child, right? So Lord Kṛṣṇa, whenever somebody desires with pure heart, with strong, intensive love, He grants it. So He said, from heart to heart, He, grants her that wish. And then, when Bali Maharaj is in shackles, suddenly Bali Maharaj, seeing him in that situation, what's happening to Ratnamala is being identified, that she was upset, she was in anxiety, she was somewhat angry as well. Because Bali Maharaj, her elder brother, was just like her father. He loved her just like a father loves his daughter. So at that time, she felt in great envy and great anger. She said, if he was my child, I would feed him poison. So sometimes, even with that in strong intensity, somebody wishes, Lord grants it. So Ratnamala appeared as Putana, and she tried to feed poison by putting the poison on her breast, and then she was feeding, but Lord sucked off her life. When as an infant, he was just an infant, but doesn't mean that his strength or his potency is any less. He is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and what's the position she gets? She becomes a close associate of Yashoda Mai in the spiritual world. So Lord did not worry about so much about her behavior as a demon. Rather, He took that bhav that she wanted to serve me as a mother. So she gave her as the position of a nurse, right? An associate of Yashoda Mai in Golok Vrindavan, the topmost dham. So yes, Acharyas explained, Rupa Goswami explains in Nectar of Devotion, one should not have feeling of envy or any not correct, means any feeling against Lordship. Rather, one should be in love. One should not have hate or envy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, one should love, one should serve with gratitude. Because when the demons are killed, generally they go to Vaikuntha planets. And there the mood is that the residents of Vaikuntha planets are serving Lord and worshipping Him in awe and reverence, in Lakshmi Narayan form. So, Radharani expands into so many Lakshmis, and those Lakshmis are residing there. So here, on this arena, some amazing pastimes have occurred. So Lord Kṛṣṇa was fighting with Charun and Balaram was fighting with Mushtika. So in the other scriptures it's elaborately given that when they were fighting and Lord Kṛṣṇa realizing that all these women are talking about how this is such a big injustice, that these young boys have been made to fight with these mature wrestlers who are professional wrestlers, who are like thunderbolts. They are appearing like thunderbolts. And Lord Kṛṣṇa, to the eyes of women of Mathura, how did He appear? He appeared like Cupid personified, Kamdev, right? He was so beautiful, and they looked at him. He appeared so delicate. And Lord Kṛṣṇa's nails and the tail of his hands and toes, they shine like jewels. And he has perfect, shape of his arms. He has beautiful lotus petal eyes. He has curly hairs falling on his, face, So he looks so beautiful. I think they are thinking he is so soft. Yet at the same time, when Lord realized that because of this conversation that's going on, Nand Maharaj's heart is melting and he's feeling this, he's getting disturbed, and he's seeing his parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, also getting disturbed. So, Vasudev Kṛṣṇa. So again, when I say Vasudev Kṛṣṇa, Vasudev just means son of Vasudeva. And he is not different from Kṛṣṇa, yet at the same time he is an expansion from Kṛṣṇa. So from Lord Kṛṣṇa, the first expansion is Balaram. From Balaram, the expansion is Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. And all these expansions are simultaneously same and different. So Lord Kṛṣṇa never steps out of Vrindavan. So who is the personality over here? This is Vasudev, who is fighting with Charun. And Balaram, rather it is Sankarshan Balaram. So expansion from Sankarshan, Balaram is Sankarshan. So that Sankarshan is fighting with Mushtika. And Lord Kṛṣṇa realizing that his parents are getting disturbed, they're feeling sad and distressed that what is happening here and our sons are put in this difficult situation. So realizing this, Lord Kṛṣṇa wanted to end this wrestling affair. So he immediately picks up Charuna and throws him up in the air, very high. And Charun, he comes down and falls head first. Yet at the same time, he becomes more angry. So Charun gets up, more angry, and he punches Lord Kṛṣṇa with his fist. When he punches, Lord Kṛṣṇa is not, completely not affected. It's like somebody is throwing a flower to the elephant. That's how it appears like. So at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa picks him up and throws him onto the ground, just like a boy, a young child, throws a kamandulu on the ground. Just as effortlessly it is given. So at that time, Charun, his teeth are broken and he is very disturbed. So he gets up and with both his fists, he is attacking Lord Kṛṣṇa's. And he hits his chest. And Lord Kṛṣṇa is smiling and no effect is there. So everyone, all the ladies and everyone in the audience, they are surprised to see how Lord Kṛṣṇa is fighting with Charun and he is not getting affected at all. And at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa takes Charun and whirls him around and then bangs him onto the ground, so much so that his blood comes out from his nose, mouth, he starts vomiting and then he dies. And seeing this, Balaram gets the hint, so he does similarly, whirls around Mushtika and then throws him onto the ground. So seeing that Charun and Mushtika dead on the ground, Kuta, he comes forward to fight, to avenge his brother. And at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa attacks him just like Karun attacks a snake. And immediately punches him and he falls dead. And now, Shala and Toshal comes. So first Shal comes. And Shal is kicked and he lies flat, dead onto the ground. Toshal banging his arms and thighs coming forward to fight. And Lord Kṛṣṇa tears him into two pieces from his waist. You can imagine what a scene it may have been. And then he throws both the parts, both the pieces on the stage where Kansa is sitting. So seeing this, all the people who were previously lamenting, especially the ladies, they started clapping and they started saying, excellent, excellent, bravo, jai, jai. So everyone is cheering Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Balaram. And now what happens? We heard about Shri Dama. She says, this cannot be Kṛṣṇa, because Kṛṣṇa, used to wrestle with Shri Dama. And Shri Dama is brother of Radharani. So he is saying that I would defeat Kṛṣṇa very easily. How could it be Kṛṣṇa? This is someone else. And then he comes, so Lord Kṛṣṇa invites him, and the cowherd boys join him on the arena, surrounding the arena, and Shri Dama and Lord Kṛṣṇa is fighting. And it's very nicely described that Lord Kṛṣṇa and Shri Dama, as they are fighting, Lord Kṛṣṇa is showing as if he slipped, and then Shri Dama is able to defeat him. And Shri Dama says, yes, yes, this is Kṛṣṇa. And as all this is happening, Kansa is getting very disturbed. And he basically starts giving orders. What has happened? All the other wrestlers, they have fled from the wrestling arena, fearing for their life. They saw all the 5 brothers. These were the great wrestlers. They have been so easily killed by Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, who appear to be in the prime of their youth, but they are much more strong than anticipated. So everybody has fled, or all these wrestlers have fled. And people are cheering, the kettle drums are, beating, and everyone is rejoicing except for one personality. And who's that person? Kṛṣṇa. So he is in complete distress, and he starts giving order that, drive these two boys out of Mathura city and arrest Nanda and, arrest Vasudeva. And he actually gives the order to kill Vasudeva, who is his brother-in-law. And then he says, also arrest and kill Ugrasen, who happens to be his own father, Kṛṣṇa's own father. And he is saying Devaka as well. So again, as he had planned, he is carrying it out, but everything is failing. Why? Because man proposes, God disposes. And here Kṛṣṇa is saying that his plan of home field advantage is shattered so far. And he is seeing Lord Kṛṣṇa as death personified. And so at that time, he is giving these orders, and this makes Lord Kṛṣṇa very angry. So he was in a jolly mood, playing with his friends and all, but this is where he jumps over all the way to the stage where Kṛṣṇa is sitting. And Kṛṣṇa immediately jumps out of his throne and he picks up a shield and a sword. Now this is an amazing scenario. Kṛṣṇa was a great warrior, but then when he sees Lord Kṛṣṇa, who's coming to him without any weapon, he is forgetting about even the Kshatriya, rules, the etiquettes, that if the enemy doesn't have any weapon, you should not have any weapon. And he's fighting with Kṛṣṇa with a shield to protect himself, with a sword to, injure or kill Lord Kṛṣṇa. So that is not possible, but he is doing it. And he is defying this prophecy. So it just so happens that he is fighting with Lord Kṛṣṇa, and they are fighting with each other, with great vigor. And at that time, Kṛṣṇa's Mayavi, his demoniac and as well as some mystic powers are identified, that he jumps out and flies into the sky, and that's where Lord Kṛṣṇa comes chasing after him. And they are fighting in the sky, and Lord Kṛṣṇa picks him up and throws him back to where his throne was on that stage. And Kṛṣṇa is fighting again when Lord Kṛṣṇa comes to that, near his throne. And then Kṛṣṇa tries to go out, and at that time Lord Kṛṣṇa catches him and throws him onto the ground. And that's where Lord Kṛṣṇa, literally, writes on his chest and beats him up. So very elaborate pastime has happened. Everybody knew that Kṛṣṇa is so powerful that even demigods were afraid of him. And now when Kṛṣṇa is killed, his wives, along with Asti and Prapti, who are his prime queens, they come crying and they're lamenting, "Oh dear husband, this would not have happened to you if you had not been so demonic, causing so many atrocities and killing the sons of your own sister, Devaki." So they're lamenting and they're crying, and Lord is trying to satisfy them. At that time, Kṛṣṇa had 8 brothers, so they came attacking Lord Kṛṣṇa. And at that time, Lord Balaram, holding a club, he roared. So they were holding sword. It's very nicely described that hearing the roar of Balaram, they literally dropped their swords. They were so stunned. Yet at the same time, realizing that they have to avenge their brother, they came nevertheless. And 4 of them were killed by Balaram, 4 of them were killed by Lord Kṛṣṇa, and all of their souls, so again, the spark, the living entity, as they merged into Lord Kṛṣṇa, and they were able to get Sarupya Mukti onto the Vaikuntha planets. So these Vaikuntha planets, as Acharyas explained to us, is where they are worshipping Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi in awe and reverence form. So that is where. Why is that happening? Because when Lord Kṛṣṇa touches someone, whether for blessing or whether to kill, he is absolute. We talked about this. Just like sun is absolute. No matter where it shines, it disinfects. So similarly, Lord Kṛṣṇa, doesn't matter if he kills someone or if he blesses someone, the effect is that one is purified of their sins. And now, as this particular chapter is starting, Lord Kṛṣṇa, after killing all those, and in the wrestling, and all the spectators are cheering him up, he is approaching Vasudeva and Devaki. So Vasudeva is the father and Vasudeva Kṛṣṇa is the son. So Lord Kṛṣṇa is approaching, and suddenly he sees that, having seen all this wrestling and what happened in this arena, because Kṛṣṇa really did not get much of a, glory, because Lord Krishna pulled him on the side of a stage where people could not see him and beat him up to where he was killed, and then he pulled him to the center to the wrestling arena stage, showing that everyone has been killed, just like a lion pulls an elephant. So that's how it appeared. And at that time, Vasudeva and Devaki, parents of Vasudeva Krishna, they are thinking that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He just showed all his potencies. This is not possible for a child in a youthful age to be able to do. And they are all thinking, and of course in the beginning itself, when they had appeared in the arena, when they had entered the arena, everyone was thinking that these are the two personalities who are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is an important point. Sometimes people look at it and they say, oh, Lord Krishna was an expansion of Vishnu. While in the first canto itself it has been revealed, Ete chams kalha pumsa Krishnastu bhagwan swayam indrari vyakulam loke mridayanti yuke yuge. So when various expansions of Lord Krishna are being described, at that time, to avoid any confusion, Sutta Goswami is revealing that all these expansions, planetary expansions, portions of the planetary expansions are expansions of Lord Krishna, while Lord Krishna, Krishna tu Bhagwan Swayam, but Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he appears millennium after millennium to annihilate the enemies of Indra. And Indra is the king of the demigods. So, enemies of impious people. So again, all the impious peoples are annihilated. And Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanāthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So to annihilate the miscreants and to protect the pious people is why Lord Krishna is appearing again to re-establish religion. So these are the three purposes identified. And here Lord Krishna, seeing that his parents are suddenly getting into that mood of awe and reverence, and they literally get up when Lord Krishna and Balram are approaching. So Lord Krishna takes Balram with him to meet his parents, and at that time Vasudeva and Devaki, they get up folding their arms, bowing their heads. And Lord Krishna did not want this. So this is where this chapter starts. That Lord Krishna, he expands his Yogamaya, his internal potency, which dilutes his devotees, so that he can enjoy this Vatsalya Rasa, exchanging pastimes with his parents in Vatsalya Rasa. So they are the parents and he is the child. Now sometimes people, they get surprised when Srila Prabhupada used to say that why do you want to become God? You can become greater than God, right? So we all hear that God is great, and just thinking that we can become greater than God is where this has been exemplified in this purport as well, where the devotees, when they serve the Lord, then Lord allows these devotees to sometimes become their parents, just like Vasudeva and Devaki became, right? Nand Maharaj and Yashodamai became, and many others. Atri and Anusuya had Lord Dattatreya as their child. Kashyapa Muni and Aditi had Vamandev as their child. So Lord is appearing again and again and giving opportunities to his devotees to become his parents. And how sometimes it's very difficult for people to take to this. So Srila Prabhupada narrates a beautiful incident to help us understand this scenario. So the Prime Minister of UK, Gladstone, he was in his office, and a delegate came. So this delegate wanted to meet the Prime Minister of UK, and the secretary asked the delegate to just sit because she said that Prime Minister Gladstone is busy right now, so I will let him know and then he will call you. Now he's waiting for a long time, right? And he's a very important person, at least to his own mind, to himself. So this is where Srila Prabhupada also instructs us that everyone feels that they are important. So we should respect everyone. Amanena manadena, right? So we should respect everyone because we don't want to, offend anyone. Yasmano duishte loko lokano duishte chaya. Harsha Mahesh Bhayodoge. So again, that's where Lord Krishna is revealing in Bhagavad Gita, Yasmano Dishte Loko Lokano Dishte Chaya. We don't want to disturb others and don't want to be disturbed by others. So even if somebody offends us or somebody insults us, we want to just stay humble and let it pass, because Lord Krishna is watching in our heart. But at the same time, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So the Lord is saying that He is the best friend of all living entities. So that's the thought a devotee has, that he is a best friend of all living entities. Srila Prabhupada, he used to write his letters, and in the end, he used to write, your ever well-wisher. And then he used to sign it. So that's the mood of a devotee. That's the mood of a devotee. That, it is just a karma cycle that's finishing. That's why he's insulting me. I must have done something in the past. Let me just take it as it's coming and go with the flow. Because that's exactly Lord Krishna showed in this pastime. He went with the flow with all the things that Kṛṣṇa had arranged. Yet at the same time, he came out successful because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this delegate had been waiting to meet President Gladstone, Prime Minister Gladstone, for a long time, and he became impatient. And before the secretary could stop, he opened the door of the office. And what does he see? He's surprised, he's stunned to see that Gladstone is on his knees and on his arms on the floor. And that there's a small child riding on his back. So what is this? He was wondering. So this child happened to be the grandson of Gladstone. And they were having this loving exchange where Gladstone became a horse for the child and allowed the child to ride him. And in this particular time, when the delegate opened, he saw. So does that mean the child is more qualified than the delegate? No. Delegate feels that he is more qualified because of the studies, the experience he has had of life. Child doesn't have any experience. Does the delegate feel that he has more, understanding who Gladstone is than the child? Yes. Means he knows that Gladstone is the Prime Minister. He knows how he has to, interact, understanding in awe and reverence form, how he is interacting. Yet from the child perspective, Gladstone is just his grandpa, his grandfather. So in a loving mood, the child is riding on Gladstone, taking a higher position. Right? A horse rider has a higher position than the horse. So here he's taking a higher position. Yet at the same time, it's a loving pastime where Gladstone wants to become a horse for his grandson. He would never become a horse for the delegate, right? Would he? So you ask yourself, why? Because the delegate has a different relationship. So Lord Krishna, Srila Prabhupada used to give this example. Lord Krishna at work is Vishnu, and at home he is in Golok Vrindavan. So in Vaikuntha, he is appearing as Vishnu expansions, while at home he is Lord Krishna, who is having this loving, sweet pastimes with his devotees, with Yashodamai, with Nand Baba, with the cowherd boys, with the gopis, and the elderly cowherd men and ladies, and the brahmanas and brahmanas' wives, and everyone, even the cows and the calves, he was having this loving relationship. Who are in Shanti Bhav, right? And we heard as how when Lord would, blow his flute, and hearing the song of the flute, even the trees would become Krishna conscious, while trees are known to have very low consciousness. They would become Krishna conscious. So that is, and everything is transcendental in the spiritual world. So even the trees in the spiritual world are fully transcendental. What to talk about trees, the gems, everything is alive. Not in this material world where things are created by Maya, right? Like the table. It doesn't move on its own unless somebody moves it. So jada, that's the behavior, that's the characteristic of Maya. That Maya is jada. To move it or to make it something happen, a living entity, someone with consciousness has to move it. And that's why Srila Prabhupada used to ask this again and again, and we present this argument, or rather is this logic to the scientists today, that all these great planets, big planets are floating in this space. Do you think they could do that on their own? Of course not. The potency comes from Supreme Lord, and so they are able to float. Now here, Lord Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna and Sankarshan Balaram, so both of them are approaching their parents, and the parents are in this mood. So Lord expands his potency, and this potency dilutes the devotees. Mahatmanas tu mama partha devim prakritim ashraya. Lord Krishna says those who are Mahatmas, great souls, pure devotees of the Lord, they are under the shelter of Devi Prakritim, which is Yoga Maya, his internal potency. While in the material world, we are under the influence of material energy. Devi he shanguramai mama maya duratyaya ma me vye prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. So this is for the material world. Lord Krishna is revealing to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita that this material energy of mind, which is made up of modes of material nature, there are three modes. Mode of goodness, Hare Krishna, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. So those three modes, Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna. And it is very difficult to overcome her. But when one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can easily cross over it. Ma me vye prapadyante. When one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, taking shelter of his lotus feet, Maya me tam tarantite, very easily cross over this material world. It appears like a great ocean, but it turns into the size of a calf's hoof print, and anybody can cross over, jump over the calf's hoof print. So here Lord Krishna's internal potency, Yoga Maya, she bewilders them and brings them back to their mood of parents. And so when Lord Krishna and Balaram approaches them, he further invokes with his words their vatsalya, the bhav of parents. He basically speaks that, oh my dear father, my dear mother, we are so unfortunate. So he's calling himself unfortunate that they missed. So it's very interesting that he is turning it around, that he is in agony in separation from them. Sometimes when we meet our relatives after a long time and you're like, did you miss me? That's more of an arrogant statement. When you say, I missed you so much, and you embrace them, that is a loving statement. So it's very interesting when you're trying to put yourself in the other person's shoe and showing them that what they should be feeling, which is a very, it's filled with pride and it's filled with arrogance. And doesn't really show a loving attitude, rather it shows a very commanding attitude. While devotees always take a loving attitude, that I am so happy to see you. So that is something very important. Sometimes people say familiarity breeds contempt, which is true. However, if we just introduce two factors, respect and loving exchanges, then this saying familiarity breeds contempt will never be there. And also when we talk about the various offenses to the chanting of the holy name, right, as given in Padma Purana, basically it starts with when we see a devotee and we are not feeling delighted. That's also a namaprad. That's the first one. So when we see a devotee, even though we see them 10 times during the day, we should feel delighted in our heart. And we should, when we meet them, when we embrace them, we should express that as well. That way our loving exchanges would increase. We would be showing respect to each other, realizing that everyone is, son and daughter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the Supreme Father, and allowing each other in respectful mode to exchange. Dadati pratigahanati guhiyam akhyate prichate bhunjate bhojate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sundar, Rupa Goswami is revealing that there are 6 types of loving exchanges. Dadati pratigahanati, accepting gifts, giving of gifts. Guhiyam akhyate prichate, discussing serious matters and inquiring about these high transcendental subject matters. And bhunjate bhujate chava, accepting prasadam and giving prasadam. Now here, Lord Krishna, after explaining this, now Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives elaborate commentary on when Lord Krishna is saying the youth, then somebody could say if they were 9 or 11 years old, then they haven't passed the youth, there's still time of the youth, but they were accelerating at a faster pace. That's why they're saying the part of the youth that they have passed is something that Vasudeva and Devaki, they missed. And so Vasudeva Krishna, he is making them, feel that our sons have been away from us. And then they bow down, touching the feet of their parents. And the parents are
now filled with this motherly and fatherly love, and their tears are flowing, and they are embracing and kissing Krishna and Balaram so much, and rejoicing in that embrace. And Lord Krishna wanted this, so he is embracing them back. So now Lord Krishna approaches Ugrasen, father of Kṛṣṇa, and he says, you, please, you take the position of the king, because there is already a curse. Because somebody could say, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reveals that Lord Krishna killed Kṛṣṇa, so he should become the king of Mathura. But Lord Krishna is revealing why that is not the case. He said that because of the curse of Yayati had cursed Yadu Maharaj that he or any of his descendants would never become a king. So he's requesting, because of the curse of Yayati, none of the Yadavas, descendant of Yadu, can become a king. And you are a Bhoja, you are from the Bhoja dynasty, so you please take the position of king. So Ugrasen is made king. But there is something very wonderful thing happening. Lord Krishna is arranging for the final rites, last rites of Kṛṣṇa and all the wrestlers. And their pyre is made up of basically chandan wood. He brings the best of the woods and he makes sure that all the rites are performed. And in case of Kṛṣṇa, he himself chants the mantras for the last rites. So Lord is so merciful that he is taking that position. That's why he is Achyuta, that he realizes that this Kṛṣṇa appeared as my mama. So now that the soul is passed, he is treating that body as that a body that was occupied by his maternal uncle. And so with that attitude, and since Kṛṣṇa did not have any child, so Asti and Prapti and other queens did not have any son or daughter, so they did not have any progeny. So Kṛṣṇa did not have anyone. So Lord Krishna accepted that position to be the child who would perform the last rites. So this is where mercy of Lord is visible. That he is even forgetting about all the animosity, how he was creating difficulty for his family members, for all the Vrishnis, all the Sattvakas, all the Bhuj, again he was Bhuja king, yet all the Yadavas, because he was told by Narad Muni, Kṛṣṇa was told by Narad Muni that all these descendants in Yadu dynasty, they are all demigods who have taken birth to help Krishna. And so he was tormenting all of them. And then the next step that Lord Krishna does is, he goes around and he propagates this message that all should return back to Mathura and come live with them. So all the Vrishnis, all the Sattvakas, all the Bhujas, all other personalities in the dynasty of Yadu, in the Yadu dynasty, they come to Mathura, and Lord, he embraces them, gives them the shelter under the throne which is held by Ugrasen. So, King Ugrasen is the king of Mathura, and it's protected by the strong arms of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. And after performing the rites, now Vasudeva had this desire to give in charity, because when he was in prison, he had, just with his mines, he had donated 10,000 cows. Now in Padma Purana it says 100,000 cows. So he is able to perform that, because what had happened when he was in prison, Kṛṣṇa had taken all his cows and all his property. Now he was able to get it back, so he performs extensive charity. And in charity he gives cows who are nicely bedecked with silken clothes, gold and so forth, and he is giving it to Brahmanas as part of Lord Krishna's appearance, right? And Balaram is there as well. So that's twice the joy. Buy one, get one free. You have one Supreme Personality of Godhead, now you have two. So he is rejoicing because Lord Krishna, he had to himself carry to Gokul and exchange with the daughter of Yashoda. Now that was the case, and Lord Sankarshan, he was passed from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. And so both of them were under the shelter of Nanda Maharaj. Now Krishna and Balaram, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men and the Gopa boys, cowherd boys, they stayed there for some time in Mathura. And when they were desiring to leave, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram approached them, and holding their hands, means Nanda Maharaj's hand, Lord Krishna is saying, "Oh dear father, we have been so lucky to have, we have been so fortunate to have you and Yashoda Mai as our parents, who took care of her, who provided us shelter. And I have to give some happiness to your friends, right? So he's not saying I have to give happiness to my parents. So this is where it's showing that Lord is very cautious how he uses the words to invoke that loving feeling in the person he's speaking to. So now Nand Maharaj is remembering that Vasudeva is my half-brother and a very close friend of mine. So he has been in so much distress in prison, he and his wife. And now that Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they are returning as Vasudeva and Sankarshan. So he does, means again, they are not different. So that's why in the scriptures, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram have been referred. But somebody could say, based on the past times, the distinction appears. Yet at the same time, they are not different from Kṛṣṇa. So realizing that Kṛṣṇa Balaram wants to give pleasure to my relatives and friends who had been distressed for such a long time, for so many years. And so he agrees. And then Lord Kṛṣṇa says, along with Balaram, that please don't worry, after we have given them some happiness, we will return. So getting this assurance, Nand Maharaj and all the cowherd boys and the cowherd men, they go back to Mathura, go back to Vrindavan. And you can imagine when they came back, what must have been the state of Yashoda Mai and the gopis. And we will come to know of it when Uddhava visits Vrindavan. So that's the coming attraction. That's where we come to know what's happening in Vrindavan. Now here, as Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Balaram, they return back after seeing of Vasudeva and Devaki put this proposal, they invite Garg Muni on an auspicious occasion, the thread wearing ceremony is performed. This is the initiation ceremony with fire sacrifice. So today, when it is performed, the Brahman mantras, so they were Kshatriyas. So even the Kshatriyas, Brahman and Vaishyas, all three Varnas, you go through the samskara performances and the thread wearing ceremony happens. So as Kshatriyas, they are going through this ceremony. And who is giving them? Who is performing this ceremony as their spiritual master? Garg Muni. So this is where a big distinction comes in, which brings us to the topic of this chapter. The topic says, Kṛṣṇa rescues his teacher's son, Sandipani Muni. Right? Sandipani Muni is his teacher, instructing guru, while his Diksha guru is Garg Muni. So there is a distinction. And actually there are three types of spiritual masters we experience in our lives. And Srila Prabhupada uses the word spiritual masters for both of them, the Diksha Guru as well as Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru is instructing a spiritual master. Diksha Guru is one whose shelter we take, go through the ritualistic ceremony, yet at the same time, because we have the spirit, the essence, that we are eternal servant of Lord Kṛṣṇa and our purpose is to serve Lord Kṛṣṇa, it is a spiritual journey that we are starting. And from that perspective, this particular pastime starts where Garg Muni initiates them. And then they go and take the instructions from Sandipani Muni. So they go in his Gurukul and live there. It is very nicely described that the 64 types of arts are learned by Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balaram in 64 days. So once a day. So the instructing Guru did not have to repeat his instructions. He was able to, just give once and Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Balaram will understand it perfectly. Yet at the same time, they were serving their spiritual master. So in Gurukul, the life is, if the spiritual master gives you a task, like he would go and ask some of the kids to go and collect dry wood from the forest, they would go collect the wood from the forest, and then they would also be sent out to collect foodstuff from different villages and towns, and they would be walking around with their bag and a ball. Bhikshan Dehi, please give us some alms, please give us some alms. Madhukari is another way. In Vrindavan, you can go to people's home and knock, and that's Madhukari. So some of our God brothers, they describe how wonderful it is, how welcoming the heart of a Vrindavan Vasi is, a residents of Vrindavan even today. They have such a loving attitude when somebody comes asking for food. They welcome them and they very nicely serve them. So that's one of the essential aspects of a Grihastha ashram. It's been exemplified here. So here, Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balaram in 64 days they are able to learn also Dhanur Vidya. Now why is Dhanur Vidya important? Because they were Kshatriyas, right? So they were given instructions based on their specific Varna, Kshatriyas as warriors, administrative class. So they learned how to present logic, they learned how to go through debates, they learned the different 6 limbs of political science. And after completing their study, they have to give Guru Dakshina. So in Guru Dakshina, they ask their teacher what should they provide. So their teacher, Sandipani Muni, he consults with his wife. So yes, this teacher is a Grihastha. So again, many of our teachers and the spiritual masters in our lineage were Grihasthas. If you talk about Grihasthas, then we have Sachidanand Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was a Grihastha. Lord Brahma himself is a Grihastha, Lord Shiva is a Grihastha, Vyasdev is a Grihastha. So there are so many Grihasthas. So here, after consulting with his wife, he says, please bring me back my son who drowned in the sea. So at that time, understanding that the sea had engulfed in its strong waves, Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they take a chariot and they go to the sea. When they go actually to the ocean. So as soon as they go to the ocean and Lord Kṛṣṇa is there, seeing him, ocean personified comes. When Lord Kṛṣṇa in his rumbling sound says that, return the son of my teacher, Sandipani Muni. So at that time, the ocean personified comes and says, oh my dear Lord, it is not I who drowned your teacher's son. It is Panchajanya, a Daitya, a descendant of Diti. His name is Panchajanya. He's a demon in the waters and he lives in a body that appears like a conch. He is living there, so he is the one who has taken. So at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa immediately tightens his sash on the waist, pulls his hair back and he dives into the ocean looking for Panchajanya. He goes to Panchajanya. When he sees Panchajanya, Panchajanya throws a trident at Lord Kṛṣṇa. Lord Kṛṣṇa catches the trident and throws back, injuring Panchajanya demon, the Daitya demon, son of descendant of Diti. And so there is a great fight that ensues and Panchajanya is killed. And when Lord Kṛṣṇa looks in his body, he doesn't find his teacher's son there. So that means he has gone to Sandimani place, the place of Yamraj, city of Yamraj, Sandhyamani Puri. So Lord Kṛṣṇa now with Balaram going to the city of Yamraj. And Lord Kṛṣṇa there, so what has happened? Panchajanya, he had this body of a conch shell. So Lord Kṛṣṇa takes this conch. So that's why from that point onward we see in this pastime that Panchajanya is also the name of the conch that Lord Kṛṣṇa blows on. And there is another wonderful pastime as how Lord Kṛṣṇa always had Panchajanya and he was blowing on it, but because of that, the conch, which is itself like a living, being, becomes proud. That is constantly touching Lord Kṛṣṇa's lips. And that's why this living entity in the form of conch has to take birth as Panchajanya demon, a Daitya Raj. And then he was killed by Lord Kṛṣṇa, thus purifying him. And then again getting him in his original form as a conch that Lord Kṛṣṇa is blowing. So he blows this conch outside the gate of this city of Yamraj. And at that time, whoever heard was liberated. So it just so happened that there are hells, various kind of hells. And it's very interesting that 8.4 million types of hells where this sound was heard and every being out there who was suffering, who was being punished, liberated, attained liberation and went back home. Seeing this, of course, Yamraj would be disturbed and all the Yamdutas would be disturbed. He's getting reports that everybody just, disappeared and they attained perfection. And they were like, what's going on? So trying to find what is the cause, Yamraj opens the door and he sees Lord Kṛṣṇa. So he welcomes Lord Kṛṣṇa. He says, how can I serve you? And at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals that I am here to take the son of my teacher. So Yamraj goes and from his assembly, so people who are in the assembly not being punished but who are in his assembly, so the son was in his assembly, he brings the son, hands him over to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Lord Kṛṣṇa takes that son back to his teacher. So that's why spiritual master is also the word used. So there is instructing gurus and there is Diksha gurus. So he gives bring the son to his instructing guru, his spiritual master. And so at that time, his spiritual master is satisfied. Yet Lord Kṛṣṇa has asked him, what other boon would you like? He is fully satisfied. His wife is fully satisfied. He's got this in his loving attitude. He's feeling so blessed to have such fortunate students like Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Balaram. And then Lord Kṛṣṇa and Lord Balaram, they return back. So this is where this chapter ends. There is also another pastime where Devaki, once when Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they returned from Kurukshetra, she knew that Lord Kṛṣṇa brought back the dead son of his teacher back. So she had this desire, she had this burning desire. She was always feeling this void in her heart for the 3 sons who were killed by Kṛṣṇa. Now who were these 3 sons? They were Shatgarbhas. And they were sons of Marichi. Marichi represents mind, and these sons also represent 6 kind of anarthas. We have covered in other class many times. So once when Lord Brahma had a state of fall down, they rebuked and they laughed at Lord Brahma. So they got cursed by Lord Brahma that you will be born as demons. So they were born as Daityas, right? They were born as sons of Kalnemi, and Kalnemi was also a Daitya, descendant of Diti. So there, these Shatgarbhas, fearing that they will be killed by demigod, they, meditated and performing with meditation, they got a boon from Brahma that none of the demigods will kill them. And at that time, if they don't fight, that was an important aspect. So when Hiranyakashipu heard, he said that, don't worry, in your next life you will be killed by your own father Kalnemi. So that's why they were born as the 6 sons of Devaki, and Kalnemi became Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa killed all these 6 boys who were his own sons. So Devaki expresses this to Lord Kṛṣṇa that I'm still feeling void. And at that time, Lord Kṛṣṇa, remembering that yes, she is still feeling this void, he goes to Sutala, Bali Maharaja's place. And when Bali Maharaj, he comes to know that Lord Kṛṣṇa himself has come, so he opens the door, he welcomes the Lord, he worships him opulently. And then he asks, how can I serve you? After you make someone comfortable, washing their feet, making sure that they are properly served, we should ask, what's the purpose of your visit, right? Not just put our desires one after another when somebody important approaches you. Rather know, understand why they have come and how you can help them in whatever manner you can. So Lord Kṛṣṇa expresses his desire. So all the 6 sons of Devaki, they are brought back, and Lord Kṛṣṇa brings them in front of his mother. And looking at them, Mother Devaki, her milk starts flowing. Yet at the same time, this is the mood of the Vatsalya. Lord Kṛṣṇa says, I have the first right on your milk because I am the youngest. So very sweet pastime is there. So we quickly covered it here because it's related to the returning of the son of his teacher. And this is where this chapter ends. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Janant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.